Good morning once again. So far in our cryptography class, we have learnt about various crypto systems, various encryption algorithms, public key encryption, symmetric key encryption, the different modes of operation, block cipher, stream cipher, all right, and so on. So we also have learnt their security aspects, their stability, are they able to withstand, and so on, and also a little bit about the various kinds of attacks, and then how are you going to exchange the keys among the parties. Can the public key crypto system support that, or do we have specific algorithms such as Diffie-Hellman or ECC algorithms for exchange of keys and so on? All right. So having this strong foundation, this no, strong fundamentals, it's a time for us to move towards the application perspective of these cryptographic functions, right? So we shift our gear little bit more here. And so from here, we are going to learn a lot on the hash functions. In general, the cryptographic hash functions, but still, in today's class, we are not going to get into the very details or specifics about the hash functions, but in general, what are the various applications, how are they useful, how do they slightly differ from our regular cryptographic algorithms, and so on. So I'm sure today's class would be really helpful to you, so that we can start learning about secure hash algorithms and digital signature standards and so on in the further classes. Right. So before getting into that, we should know what is a hash. So I have copied few lines from our textbook that will really help us to know about this. I'll read for you. A hash function, H, not necessarily H, but H stands for hash. Right? So we can easily understand. Accepts a variable length block of data, which is generally called as M, because M stands for message, as input, and produces a fixed size. That's the keyword here. Fixed size hash value, which is denoted by small h. So the small h is calculated by applying a hash function on the input message M, and hence we have got a small formula here that hash can be obtained by applying hash function onto the message M. The key takeaway here from this line is that it accepts variable length block of data. So your input size could be 128 bits, 1024 bits, and so on. All right, but still, you will arrive at a fixed size hash value. This is something strange from our cryptographic calculation earlier. All right, first point. Something more about that. What is a cryptographic hash function? So this is simply a hash function. What is cryptographic? Simple, sir. We use it in our security features. That's it. All right. And what are the objective? What are the expectation from a cryptographic hash function? That it gives 2 points. Generally, 2 points. One is it should be computationally infeasible, which means it's not that impossible, but it may not be useful even if you do it, because it's going to take a lot of time. So it is computationally infeasible to find either a data object that maps to a predefined hash result. In other words, you got a hash value h. All right, from h you will not be able to deduce m. That's the meaning of it. You got only the hash value in your hand. Okay, having that hash value, it should be infeasible, almost impossible, okay, infeasible to find a original message. Okay, a data object that maps to a predefined hash value. You got a hash value. From that, from where you would have got this message, should be infeasible for anyone to compute. Okay, this is called as one-way property. We have learned about this. We used the word trapdoor earlier. Okay, so this is called the one-way hash function. We have spoken about this a little earlier. All right, the second one, two data objects that map to a same hash result should be infeasible. Suppose you got a hash function, hash value called h. You got another hash value called h dash. Okay, so for a single message, all right, for a single, I'm sorry, for no two messages, let me say message and message dash. Okay, these are two different message. These two different message cannot end with a single hash value called h. Why should we have this function? So in that case, you can easily duplicate your message to fool the enemy, to fool the intended, the legible users. Suppose there are two people A and B are communicating. If there is an attacker comes in, because our hash value, we are going to learn what are the usages of this hash value. That's okay. But if he is able to, suppose he is sending the message M, he is able to create another message called M dash to give the same hash value. Your hash function fails. All right. So it should be computationally infeasible to find two messages having the same hash value. We call it as collision free property. There should not be a collision. All right. So these are the two important properties, the basic a must-have property of a hash function. So have you understood what a hash function is? Now a simple function. Sir, how is it working? Don't worry. We have a long way to go to know about that. But in general, you have the actual message. We call it as M. You apply it to a hash function. You got the result value. So whatever may be your input size, you got the fixed value as output. We denote it by small h. And this is called your hash function, having two important properties. One is from the hash value, you will not be able to find, or it is very much difficult to find the original message, point number one. And the second expectation is two different messages cannot produce the same hash value. All right. These are the fundamental points about hash function. All right. So this is a literal representation of what a hash is. Now you got your original message M. Okay, message M, it could be of any length. So that's what I said, it can take the variable length of input. Okay, and then you pad it. P stands for padding and length to get the actual length. So generally your input could be any size, and it is padded to a specific length of L bits. Suppose your input is L plus 1 bit. All right, then you will be creating two L's. Okay, all the remaining bits will be padded so that you get the fixed length as the input. All right, that is given to the hash function. So this whole function is the hash function. Okay, so the input message is given and you get the output. It's a standard hash value. It's a fixed length hash value. Okay, so very similar to you have your automatic or hand operated juicer, right? So you give your input and then you get the output. So this is your hash value. So from this you will not be able to produce, or it is infeasible to produce the actual message. This is what the overall view of what a hash is. All right, now it's time for us to know. That's all okay. Where are we going to apply these hash values, hash function? Are they really useful? Yes, they are really useful. We have few slides to talk about that. Yes, so applications of cryptographic hash function. So we are going to know little more details of message authentication and digital signature, and then what is what about these other applications, right? So there are three things, but two are mandatorily you should remember. One is the message authentication, the other is digital signatures. So let's talk about them. What is the message authentication? Though all of us are aware of it, it's the time for us to recall what a message authentication is. Okay, so it's a mechanism used to verify the integrity of a message. We know that, right? And the very important thing is it assures that the data received are exactly as sent. Okay, so whatever is sent, okay, whatever is sent is not altered. It's the integrity of the message. Okay, there is no modification, no insertion, deletion. So this is the message authentication, not the user authentication. Okay, so how is it going to be used? Probably the third line will help you to understand more. When a hash function is used to provide message authentication, the hash function value is referred to as message digest. All right, so in order to achieve message authentication, we need to calculate message digest. That's nothing but calculation of a hash value, right? So let's see some of the examples here so that we can understand more. Okay, how are we achieving the message authentication? Very simple, sir. You got two people as usual, the Alice and Bob. All right, so these two people have to communicate certain message among them. Okay, I'll just keep it here. It's okay, sir. Right. Right. So there is a message, maybe data. You got the message here. So this message has to be, probably Alice wants to communicate this message to Bob, but she's a little bit worried about the integrity of this message. Okay, will the message be received as it is sent by me? Okay, so what does she do? She takes the message, applies a hash function to that. Okay, take the message, you apply the hash function. Okay, let this be H. So H is calculated by applying the hash message. That's what happening here. So that small H is appended to the data. So what happens? You got your original message. That is what, this is where H. So M and H are appended. In other words, probably if you want me to write it in technical, you got your message that is appended with H of M. Isn't it simple? Yes. So that is transmitted over your secure or unsecure channel. It is received. Okay. The receiver is the Bob here. So Bob receives the message. Just to denote that, I use the word M dash. Just to show that he would have received it in the same way, or he would have received it which is changed by someone. We do not know. Okay. So it's safe. We represent it as M dash. And he calculates H of M dash, giving H dash. Okay, so what happens? H is also appended, right? So this is what the message is sent. So this is available here. This is your M dash. This could be H or H dash. Okay, so these two are compared. So H is compared with whether it is equal to H dash. If it is same, now Bob can convince himself that the message is not altered. How is it possible, sir? Now we need to discuss about this. How is it possible that he can convince? Now you recall there were two properties we spoke at the start of this session. What was the one? One was what? No, you got your hash message, which is called as digest in our example. From this digest, you will not be able to create the original message. So suppose there is an attacker. He is sitting here. Does he has the access? Does he have the access to the hash? Yes, because the message is not encrypted. The message is sent as the plain text. So he has the access to H. He has the access to M. Okay. Can he create another message having the same hash? No, because the second property says it should be collision free. So he will not create M dash which gives the same H. So the second point is ruled out. Can he generate another message which is going to give M? Not, that's not possible. Will he be able to create a message from H? That is also not possible. All right. So what happens? The receiver, the attacker has no way that he can create the same hash without altering M. This is what the advantage. Now we all should have a difficulty here. What is the difficulty? Sir, what will happen if he is able to create another message called M dash to create another hash called H dash? He combines these two and send it across. Is it possible? It is very well possible, right? So if you have got that question, you are in the right track. That is the problem here. Yes, my friend is crying. All right, so that's the problem here. So this is what exactly I have just spoken in the previous slide. So you got the original message M, that is called data. You got H of M, create your hash value. That is the outcome here. So H and M are appended. So that is what going here. What the Darth is doing, he takes the data. He is actually intercepting. Okay, it is not mandatory for him to take this data. It is not useful for him, let's assume. What does he do? He creates another data M dash, probably a change in the message content. He generates H dash because H of M dash is H dash. He is sending these two. Now Bob receives M dash and H dash. He is thinking that it has come from the actual person. He calculates the H of M dash to get H dash. He is comparing these two, whether they are same. Obviously, it's going to be same if there is no change by the networking medium which is transmitting the bits. So obviously, Bob is tempted to think that he has got the message from Alice and which is unaltered. Okay, so how can we solve this problem? Yes, we should have some mechanism to solve this problem. At this point of time, we don't have any other alternate than relying on the cryptographic function called encryption. Okay, so let's talk about that little bit. So there are different modes by which this can be achieved. All right, this is one of the modes. Let's talk about them. How these are all the basic things. We haven't gone into the details of how they are working, but a generalized view of how this message digest are useful. Okay, first one, you got your original message from the source, maybe the Alice here. This is Bob in our example. So Alice takes the original message young. He applies the hash function. All right. So this is a one-way function as we have been speaking. Now this message I'm sorry, message and the hash value. So you got the hash value here is appended and it is sent for encryption. So what's happening here? So you have got the encryption function which takes two values. One is the K, that is your key. This is a symmetric algorithm, for instance. Okay, so the Alice uses the key called K. The same key is used here. So this is a symmetric encryption algorithm. So he uses K. What does he encrypt? He encrypts two things. One thing, what is that? The message, which is appended with the hash function message. Just to discriminate these two, or you can say the encryption is happening with the key of the message appended with the hash. Okay, so this is what encrypted here. So this encrypted message goes, let me say this is C. Okay, just to understand that. So C is sent here. Now what happens? What is the outer function? It is the encryption. So you are supposed to go for the decryption. Okay, so by giving the same key, so decryption will reveal you this combination. What is that? The message and the hash value H, which is actually the H of message. Hope you are able to get this. All right, now how does he verify? The receiver, the Bob in this case, has to calculate the hash function once again. Has he got M? Yes. So he applies the to get the hash value called H. Now the hash is already appended. This is taken. The output is also taken. Whether this hash is equal to this hash is found. If there is no change, if both are same, then Bob convinces herself or himself that the message is unaltered. Okay, so this solves your man in the middle attack, which you have just seen in the previous slide. Okay, so the hash function is applied. So far, normal hash function, and then you apply the encryption for confidentiality. Okay, now there is a slight change, a small change in the mode we could see here. Here also the same thing. You got the original message M. Okay, M is sent here. Here also M comes. It is applied to hash function. Get the H of M, the hash value. All right, these two, this hash value is encrypted. But if you remember in the previous case, the original message, the hash value appended, then it was encrypted. Yeah, could you see here? Yes, that's what happening here. Moving on, what happens? You apply the encryption only to the hash value. So this kind of operation does not give you any confidentiality for your message. Okay, and then message is appended. So what happens? You got the original message, which is appended with encrypted of what? The H of M. Okay, that is what sent here. Okay, and then okay, this is your media. So through the medium, it is received here. So he receives the message as the plain text, and he is getting the encrypted value of H of M. Okay, so what is encrypted? Okay, it is using the key K. Okay, I missed that. Okay, it uses the key, and then he receives this one. So let this be C. So he receives the, what is to be done? This has to be decrypted. So you go for the decryption function using the key. What will you get? You will get H of M, which is H. So you will get H of M. Parallelly, the receiver calculates H of M here. So both are going to give H. If the message is not altered, these both are going to be same. Otherwise, it's going to through an exception that these hash values differ, so message is altered elsewhere. So in case during the media due to network error, if the message is altered, or if the person who comes in the middle, he changes the value because it goes as the plain text, he changes the value, then your cryptographic hash function, because we have learned for a single hash value h, you cannot generate two messages m1 and m2. Let me say m1 and m2, there are two messages cannot give the same hash value. So the altered message cannot alter the hash value which is already encrypted by using the shared key. Only the person who has the shared key can decrypt it to get the hash value. So attacker has no way to alter the value of hash. This provides the confidentiality as to the session, to the hash value. Okay, apparently it's not having the direct usage, but it helps you to get the authentication of the message. All right, because the hash value can be decrypted only by you and me, in this case only by Alice and Bob, nobody else, because the key is shared only between these two people, right? Moving slightly different one, here the encryption is not coming. Why, sir? Why encryption is not coming? Yes, we are going to have a slide to discuss about that shortly. But let's talk about this before that. You got the original message here, no change. Original message is sent for appending. That's okay. Now you got the hash function. All right. Hash take the message, but it also appends something that is called yes. Okay? This could be a session key, or it could be a nonce, or it could be a one-time value which is exchanged between the parties communicating A and B. You can even think this as a key, not an issue. Okay, so some value, a predefined value which is exchanged between the communicating parties. Okay, so that yes is appended with the original message. Okay, so here M is appended with yes. That is given for the hash. So M is appended with yes. This is what happening here. So what is going here? You got your original message connected with the hash value of M appended with this yes. Okay, now the original message is received here. The story is simple, and you got the h of m appended with here. So what are you supposed to do? You are now supposed to calculate the value of m appended with yes. How is it possible, sir? This yes is already shared with you by the sender. A and B have already shared it. So the person at the receiving side adds this session value or the key which is exchanged or the small value which is already shared among them, and then he appends it to find the hash function. Very similar to this one, this step. Okay, he appends it to find the hash value. So what does he calculate here? He calculates the hash value of m, which is appended with yes here. That is what available here also. No, h is appended with h is calculated for m appended with yes. We want these to be same. Here what's the advantage here? Now because the value which is exchanged between the sender and the receiver, it's kept very confidential among them. Now the receiver, probably the attacker has no knowledge about what key which is exchanged among them. He will not be able to produce an m dash, okay, so that which will give the same hash value. So that's the third way of getting your message digest. Okay, hope you are listening to me. Moving the fourth one, probably little more secure than what we have spoken. Probably the combination of the first and the third one. Yeah, the second and the third modes. Very simple to understand that. So you got your original message going here. Original message is coming here. The first step, you append yes with that. You apply h of appended with yes to produce hash value. Now here the message and the hash values are given for encryption. Okay, so what is going here? Message appended with hash of message appended with yes. That is what going for the encryption. So you got your encryption. It uses the key and then encrypts this. All right. So you got your ciphertext C. So this ciphertext is traveling here. So what's the outer function? You got your encryption. So the corresponding reverse function will be your decryption. So by decrypting it, you will get this combination. That is what happening here. So M is here. and this is hash of m appended with s. All right. Similar to the previous one, you got the message and the s appended. Then you got the you calculate the hash value because s is already known to the receiver. He calculates the hash value. You want this to be compared. All right. So we have spoken about some basic four modes of the usage of this hash. So the first one, you got the actual message. You calculate the hash. Everything is encrypted using the session key or the symmetric key encryption algorithm. You got to know how the hash is calculated. Second one, you calculate the hash only for the no, you encrypt only the hash value. So message confidentiality is not achieved, but you are able to get the authentication because the hash can be decrypted only by the shared key, which is known only between the sender and the receiver. The third one, instead of encryption, why encryption is not used, sir? Yeah, we'll talk about that shortly. Encryption, instead of encryption, you use the secret key just to confuse the attacker. All this message and this value which is already exchanged between the sender and the receiver is appended for the hash value calculation. Then the story remains almost same as the previous case. The fourth one is little bit heavy, that you combine the second and third modes in our example. So message is taken, you got this secret key. So there are two values which are exchanged. One is your symmetric key, which is used for encryption, the decryption. Second one is the secret value, which is known only by the only by the sender and the receiver A and B here, which is added with the original message. Then the hash value is calculated, which is appended with the original message. Then the encryption is done. So all these things are done in the reverse at the receiver side to find out whether the hash values remain same. Okay, this is what happening in the case of message digest. Okay, so yeah, so as I have spoken, we got rid of we got rid of encryption in the third mode if you follow this story correctly. Okay, so we have to we should not jump into the action immediately. The emoji or emoticon or smiley says wait. All right, so it says the encryption software is relatively slow, we all know that. Okay, so normally generally people will go for hardware based encryption, which is going to be faster than your software based encryption. But there is the trade off that the hardware for encryption and the decryptions are not very cheap. Okay, so the costs are not negligible, which means you have to take into account. So these all are some of the negative points about the encryption decryption algorithm. Yes, I agree with that. And encryption hardware generally, okay, though you are afford you are able to know buy this hardware. These hardwares are optimized for generally the large data size, not for small message of 1 MB or so. These are all small messages which are exchanged. So they are optimized generally for the hardware. So you are really wasting the hardware for it. And the other problem is generally unless they are published like in your RSA algorithm or AES or DS algorithms, majority of the encryption algorithms are proprietary one, so they might be covered by patents and other licensing usage. So these are all the downsides or probably the limitations of your encryption decryption algorithm. Having all these points into account, it's better if you go for the third option. But anyway, our message digest or message authentication code discussions are not over here. We still have a few more things to talk about that. All right, now we'll focus on the second one. I think it's a digital signature. Yeah, she's unhappy with points about encryption. Let's move on. All right. The digital signatures, how are they, how are we going to apply our hash with the digital signature? The hash value of a message is encrypted with the user's private key. Okay. Though there are downsides, for digital signature, we heavily rely on the encryption algorithm. So what's the advantage here? Anyone who knows the public key of the user can verify the integrity of the message. So this is what happening in the case of user authentication, right? So that is what digital signatures objective also. So the sender will use his own private key for encryption. Anyone can decrypt it. We are not achieving the confidentiality here, but we achieve the user authentication here. And the receiver is able to decrypt it using that person's public key. So this provides a very good mechanism for authentication of the user. That is what used in digital signature. So let's look at the look at a mode or two about how they are useful here. Nothing critical here, but if we have or if you have understood the modes of operation for message digest, probably this is a walkthrough for you. So you got your original message as usual, message m, okay, and then you got your hash function applied. So hash function is applied for message m. Let me say this is h. So h is going here. What happens at the sender side? He encrypts this h. So he encrypts this h with the private key of the sender here. Okay, this h is actually h of m. Okay, so he encrypts it and then it is appended. So what is happening here? The original message is appended with the encrypted message, encrypted using the key. And what is encrypted? The original messages, the hash function of the hash value of the original message, or in other words it is h. Okay, so this is what going at the other side. So the receiver is able to get directly two things. One is the encrypted digest, encrypted using the private key of a. It's not a digest, it's actually the hash, and then the actual message. So this is what the combination the receiver is getting. That is what here. Okay, see, he gets two things. So message is directly taken, okay, and this is the ciphertext. Okay, so this has to be decrypted. So he decrypts it using the public key of a. Okay, this hash value, this encrypted hash value, let me say this is a cipher value. Okay, this is how the ciphertext is going, and he gets the hash value. Now parallelly, once he's doing this decryption using the public key of a, he is getting the hash value. Parallelly, he also calculates h of m, which is what happening here. The same thing he is doing, and then h is obtained. Then you compare these two. If these two are same, then you are going to say that the actual intended sender has sent it, or in other words, you are able to authenticate the user here. Is that okay? All right, so this is what happening in the case of the digital signature, one of the modes. Let's look at another mode. Here it also provides the confidentiality. So nothing very difficult here to understand, but anyway, for the completion sake, I'll explain to you. You got the original message, same as the previous one. You got the hash, you get the h of h, which is the h of original message. That is encrypted. So encrypted is using the key called the private key of a and the h. Now in the earlier case, they were appended and sent. But here it is encrypted and then sent using the private key or symmetric key algorithm, not private key, symmetric algorithm, or shared key, secret key algorithms. So what happens? You are encrypting something. What do you encrypt? Using the key. What are the things which are appended? Message is appended with value which is already encrypted by the private key of a. What has he or she has encrypted? The h of m. Okay, so this is what sent in this box. All right, now an attacker will not be able to decrypt because theoretically this h and h key are same. So secret key or the symmetric algorithm is used. So at the first step, he has to do the reverse of, he has to decrypt it. So decryption will reveal two things: the message and the encrypted digest, encrypted hash value. So this is the message, and you get the encrypted hash value. Let this be C. So you are supposed to decrypt using the public key of A, so that you are able to authenticate it, and then you will be revealed with h of m, which is the hash value. That is what he is going to calculate also here, h of m. This h and this h has to match. Now what do we achieve here? We achieve two things. One is the confidentiality, the other one is the digital signature, that the message is authenticated. All right, so this is what the overall view of our the usage of the message authentication or the hash value. Okay, we call it as message digest. We also can be, this also can be used in digital signatures. Where else can we use? I think my slides are over, but I have a page to talk about the applications. I hope I have it somewhere. Mm, here. So what are the other applications? One is the one-way password file. You all have learnt about the Unix architecture, where you have learnt how the password is encrypted and used. If I give the keyword like salt is used, right? Yeah, you are able to recall now. Okay, so which is the timestamp of the system for encryption. This is how your Unix passwords are encrypted and stored. When the password is entered by the user, again the procedure is calculated once again to find if there is a match. Okay, instead of having your original password stored as the plain text in a Word document or a text file, it is encrypted and stored. So this is going to be the one-word password file. Once the password is entered and you get the hash value or the digest of this password file, and then you store it. Okay, store it. From this, you will not be able to get the plain text password. It is not possible. So what's happening for the authentication? When the password is entered, same procedure is calculated, is carried out once again to find if there is any match. If there is a small change in the password, the hash function is not going to match and you are not going to be authenticated. Then this also can be used for intrusion detection and virus detection as well. The signatures of the activities can be used to find out whether this is a legal or illegal operation. And also you can go for the pseudo random number generator. Okay, instead of, you also can use this digital signature, I'm sorry, message digest or the hash function, because which is going to be a one-way trapdoor function. You can use it for random number generation as well. Okay, so I encourage you guys, because we are not going to cover these points in detail in our syllabi. I encourage you to read more about the usage of your hash function in these applications areas as well. All right, so that's what I have for you, and I stop sharing.